to Unlocking the Power of Microsoft Viva. I'm Shay Drake, Marketing Director here at JourneyTEAM. And just another reminder that we are recording this session. We're going to send it out afterwards. It's really great to have you all with us today. Microsoft has been stirring up quite a bit of news lately, and Viva is no different. So while we have a few more people joining us, I'll briefly go over a little bit of information about us here at JourneyTEAM. If you haven't met with us before, here's a little bit of information about us. I won't go into all the details, but also we'll be sending out a version of this slide deck with the recording. And here are some of our awards and recognitions. Probably the most important one to note is that we are a Microsoft Inner Circle partner, which only the top 1% of Microsoft partners achieve. So we're pretty proud of that one. These are all of the Microsoft technologies that JourneyTEAM has expertise in that we can help with. There's a lot of things there again. And here are our presenters. I already introduced myself, but I'm Shay Drake. And with me, we have Kip Sorensen, Director over Collaboration and Content Management. Brandon Gorton, Director over CRM. Kevin Zollinger, one of our more senior functional consultants. And Brent Tenney, a Senior SharePoint Architect. Before I hand things over to Kevin, I do want to mention that at the end of this webinar, we'll be sharing a survey link. If you fill out that link, you will have a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. So stay tuned until the end if you can, and if you can't, we'll be sending it in an email later anyway. So Kevin, I'll hand it off to you.
Okay, and I've already stolen the slide. We're going to start with the question of what is Viva? What does it mean? And I want to kind of go back to before the pandemic, and a number of us made a big deal about we're spending a lot of time and energy and money doing all this travel stuff. Let's just do it on video. And a lot of us ran into feedback from leadership saying, yeah, that just can't happen. We just can't do it. We got to be in person. We got to be face to face. We got to share the same air. And then the pandemic happened. And it turns out we could work wherever we were. We all learned a lot in that, and Microsoft learned a lot as well. And Viva, I don't want to say it's a response to the pandemic, but it's a tool that we can use to make remote working work better. And as you look around your screen, I'm in sunny St. George. The rest of the team is in Draper, except for Kip, who is in Spain, enjoying that fine Spanish cuisine. We're spread out all over the place, and that's often the case. If you talk about the collaboration and content management team at JourneyTEAM, there are a few of us that are in every day. There's a few of us that are in frequently, and there's a couple that are in frequently. They're not there very often. And then we've got a guy in Jersey and somebody else in India, and so we're spread out all over the world. Microsoft Viva is the tooling that Microsoft offers that allows us to be more effective and more efficient as we work together as a team. Jared Spatero had what I thought was a great quote. He said that Viva is for the new age where work isn't a place, but something we do. Again, going back to the old days, it used to be all about FaceTime. How often are we sitting at our desk? How often are we typing on a keyboard? These days, it's all about what have we gotten done? What have we accomplished more than where are we doing our jobs? And so the Viva Suite is all about that. We are going to cover all aspects of it, and we're going to start with Viva Sales because it's a little bit of an odd duck in the Viva Suite in that it stands alone. We will then cover these others, and you can see them on the screen. We will not go exactly in that order. We're going to kind of jump around a little bit as we try and get a flow that makes sense. But we are going to explain to you why it is that you are going to find value in the Viva Suite and how you can use it to make your employees, whether they're all in the office or they're remote, be more effective at what they do, be more aligned with company vision, and be a little bit healthier. Let's start with Viva Sales, and for that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Brandon.
All right, thanks, Kevin. So when it comes to Viva Sales, some of the stuff that has been kind of coming in the news a lot is it's really all about AI. How can AI help us improve our quality of life, improve our efficiency, so on and so forth. So with Viva Sales, there's a couple kind of key pieces of functionality here that I kind of wanted to discuss. And we're going to be covering this in a future webinar where we're going to go in depth on Viva Sales and Copilot. But we wanted to do a teaser while we're kind of discussing the greater Viva platform at this time. So Viva Sales is a product and offering, and then it essentially is using what Microsoft is kind of branding as Copilot, which is tied into ChatGPT and some of those AI capabilities. So with Viva Sales, you can get AI generated email messages. You can identify which types of templates that you want to use so that you can include those templates inside of your emails so you can save time, give time back to your employees, or just kind of take out some of the monotony that you are kind of experiencing and running into. You can use it to build generated replies and prompts. You can identify what type of data that you are pulling from. So one thing that's really cool with Viva Sales is that you can have it hooked up into either dynamic CRM or into Salesforce, and it will pull dynamic and actionable content and data from your CRM environments and pull that into your generated content in your email message. And I got an example that I'm going to show you here in a second. So that is really powerful that it can be used for both platforms. And the whole intent here is that AI is going to learn, it's going to get better, right? So let's say 80% of the foundation of what you were looking to generate from an email message, 80% of it's going to probably be pretty spot on as far as what you're looking for. And then you can tweak the rest and or use some of the prompts to further adjust it. So on this next slide, I have an image of what it looks like inside of Outlook. So here in this message, I just sent a test email in an environment where I'd like to buy 10 units of product ABC and 30 units of product XYZ. And so in the Viva Sales add-on on the side, I can see that I can describe the email that I would like. I can reply, and I can use these other ones. These are templates that it'll do. Reply to the inquiry, offer a discount, make a proposal, or address a concern. So I don't even need to do anything. I just received this email. I can click one of those buttons and it will generate a reply to this email using the content in my CRM system. So if you go to the next slide, we can see an example of what this could look like. And this is really cool. It might be a little small, but you can see that it generated this reply. I didn't even modify any of this. It scrubbed my email content, matched up the 10 units of the products, and I have products of ABC and XYZ in my CRM system. It did the math and calculation, threw in some other stuff in there, but you can kind of see how powerful this can be is when you tie this into a CRM system, as it did this. It did all the work for me. I just need to adjust it, and then I'm off to the races. So that's kind of what we wanted to discuss from the Viva Sales side of things, is that there's more to come on this. This is kind of where all the buzz is, and we are happy to help and engage if you have further questions related to Viva Sales and how AI can help you.
Awesome. Thanks, Court.
Okay, so let's talk next about connections and engage. And we'll start with connections. This number is about as new a number as I could find, and what Gallup reported was that 30% of employees have reported that they are engaged in the mission of their company. If you do the math, that's 70% of our workforce is not really engaged in whatever it is that their company is doing. That's just a scary number. Viva Connections and Viva Engage are all about increasing the engagement of the people that we work with. And I think that's fundamental. I'm excited that we're starting with these two parts of Viva because this is the building block for everything else that we do as an organization. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but let's talk about resources. I'll show you what those look like. Those are elements from your SharePoint property, whatever that might be. Anything that's in your SharePoint tenant can show up as a resource as well as external stuff. A dashboard is a very personalized view of what is going on around your team. And then feed is news and information from around the organization. So that is Viva Connections. We'll talk about that, and I'll do a quick little demo. And then Viva Engage, it used to be Yammer, and then it became Communities, and now it's Viva Engage. Brent's going to show you a place where Microsoft still calls it Yammer. I think Kip's going to show you a place as well where it still shows up as Yammer in other properties that engage with Viva Engage, but it is Viva Engage. This is on the screen, the material from Microsoft, and I think that says it really well. We're talking about delivering a high-value employee experience by connecting leaders, communicators, and employees to build communities, share knowledge, and engage everyone. For me, Viva Engage is all about employee-generated content or user-generated content, and that can be a powerful thing for your organization to do. So let's do a demo, and I am going to share with you our friend from the standard Microsoft demo tenant, Isaiah. We have Isaiah here in Teams, and he's in a browser because I'm going to show you in just a minute the JourneyTEAM view of this. But let's start with connections, and I've branded it as the landing, and I've given it the JourneyTEAM Basecamp logo. But if I click that, that's going to then show me everything that's going around Isaiah. This dashboard is tremendously important. These are all adaptive cards, and an adaptive card can be just about anything that you want it to be. And I'll be honest, most of these are fake, but you could set an adaptive card that would tell your workforce what the next holiday is. If you had information that was coming from Dynamics about inventory that was available or wasn't available, that's there. We all care about our time off, and so this will allow you to share with employees or people in your organization the information that is important to them. And I want to again say that because this is built on adaptive cards, anything that you can do in an adaptive card, you can do here on your dashboard. I will also say that there are a lot of companies that have tied into this, and they recognize that Teams and Viva are the 800-pound gorilla in this space. And so they're creating and providing adaptive cards as well. If your company is using an HRM like Workday, for example, Workday has an adaptive card suite that you can just plug in, and it ties into their back end, and it's everything that you would ever need your employees or your organization to do with Workday. And so it offers things like check in and check out. It offers things like time off requests, those kinds of things tied directly into Connections where we want our employees to spend their life. Over here on the right, we've got the feed, and because this is a demo tenant, there isn't a lot there. I'll show you more when you get over to the JourneyTEAM. And then up here, if I click there, that's going to take me to the landing, which is the portal for this demo tenant. This again is an opportunity for you to build a place that your team wants to spend time by giving them information that's relevant to them, that's specific to your company. There are things that they need to do, things that they need to know. The other beauty to that is, as leadership, there are messages that we want to make sure that our employees hear. And by making this be a place that we spend a lot of time, they then see those messages, and that is super exciting. If I click the little Viva icon and go back, I can see that if I click this again, this is going to get me all of my resources here. And these can be whatever you want them to be. These can be sites that might be planning sites, it might be information sites, things of that nature. That's all available to you from within Connections. If I look at Engage, Engage is what used to be Yammer and then became Communities. In fact, it still says Communities up here, but it's grown to be even more. And I've started riffing off of the JourneyTEAM, a community called Pretty Pictures. And that then is stuff that employees can do to share with each other. And I'll show you some of the pictures that have been shared on the JourneyTEAM side. We also have storylines because it's a demo tenant. I don't know anybody that I'm following. I'll show you that on the JourneyTEAM. And then leaders and answers are a few of the bits of Viva Engage that have been added. These are opportunities for leaders to share news and information with their community and for the community to ask questions and get answers. Those do require a little extra licensing. Let's go look at what JourneyTEAM has done. And so I have, this is me, so this is all live content. I have Viva Engage here. And we had an employee go out and say, hey, I want to start talking about photography. And so she started a community called Photography Nerds. And I'm not a photographic guy, but that's a picture I took right there. And she has chosen that to be the image for this community for this week. And you can see that it's an active group and we're sharing pictures. Some of these guys have more talent than I do, clearly. But it has become a place where we've gotten to know each other. And in fact, Brandon Reeve, who works on our IT team, put a post out saying, hey, let's take some of these pictures that we're doing and then we'll get them printed and we'll put them up in the conference rooms. And so it becomes something that grows and takes on a life of itself. I have gotten to know people through this community that I would not have known otherwise. It allowed me to make a connection with them. When we think about working remote and working from home and working from wherever we happen to be, that's harder to do. And having a community, having a shared interest makes it easier for us to do that. Teams that like each other, teams that know each other on a personal level are going to be more efficient and effective than teams that don't. And so there's value there for your organization. Let's look at Viva Communities. This is the community site for JourneyTEAM. And you can see that my feed here does have some information in it. Hey, look, Kip Sorensen posted something a little while ago. So these are news information that are important to me. If I click here, it's going to show me the feed that's around me. And that includes sites that I visit a lot, as well as sites that have been published by the organization. I can go and see what the JourneyTEAM homepage looks like. And we've also branded and developed our own connection site called Basecamp. And in Basecamp, what we have chosen to do is show our portal. And so this is the portal for JourneyTEAM. This is where we go and do all of our daily work. We can see a team directory to see that we work with. We can see company reports. We can request time off. All of this happens here in the portal. And so it becomes a great way for us to make sure that we are all aligned. We're all working on the same thing. I am really excited about what Engage and Connections can do for a company, both to drive adoption for other things, but as well as to drive a sense of who we are as a company, what we're about as a company, and making sure that we're all aligned on the same vision and values. And with that, let's turn it over to Brent to talk about Pulse and Amplify. Brent, the floor is yours.
All right. I'm going to tell you about a couple of modules that are still on the horizon. They haven't been released to the general public yet, but they'll be out later this year. They're called Pulse and Amplify. And Pulse is all about collecting feedback from your team members, from your direct reports. It's a tool to collect anonymous feedback quickly and right in a flow of work. So it'll message them in Teams and let them know that you've requested feedback and they can respond to the survey or the questions quickly. It offers a feedback template, or you can set up feedback templates. So if it's, for example, around a project closure or kind of a well-being questionnaire, you can start with those templates, or you can start from scratch and just add your own questions. There's a large library of research-backed questions to help elicit really high-quality feedback within Pulse, or you can write your own questions if you want. And then, like I said, the feedback requests are going to show up right there in Teams where your team is working, and make it a normal part of their flow of work to give you that feedback.
Hey, Brent, is it always ad hoc on the Pulse side, or is it, I mean, could this be organizational assessments that are scheduled? Do you know those insights quite yet? I know this is officially released, so.
Yeah, we haven't seen insight about scheduling it yet. I've been curious about that, but right now all I've seen is a kind of an ad hoc. You request it and then it sends it out.
Got it.
So good question.
Yeah.
Next up is Viva Amplify. This is an app that empowers leaders and communicators to centralize communication processes in a single space. It offers some things like writing guidance to help you write high impact, high quality communications, and then it helps distribute that through various channels. At release, which we just found out 5 days ago, this is going to be rolling out in July of 2023. It's on the roadmap now officially with the release date. It's coming in July. And at release, they'll have distribution channels for SharePoint. So if you want to put it into Viva Connections there on your portal or something, Outlook and Engage, which you'll see in my slides there from this pre-release image they call Yammer. If you're quick, you can see that. But it'll go out to Engage as well. And the content publishers can collaborate with others as they prepare the communication. They can get approval, they can schedule it, and then it'll release on that schedule out to the channels you assign it to. So it's a way to kind of centralize communications and blast it out to all the appropriate areas that you want it to show up. Next up, we're going to dive into learning and insights, and more slides. We're going to take a look at these in our demo tenant and kind of give you a live demo. So first up, Viva Learning. This is a place to aggregate training content and materials from across various content providers and across your organization and bring them into the flow of work for your employees so they can get that opportunity to learn and grow and gain new skills right as they're working in their day-to-day tasks. So I'll just start at the top here and work my way down. There's a search bar up there for Teams, and then below that, you've got a search for Viva Learning. So you'd go here to type for, if you're looking for a particular training course, you can search for them here. There's a couple of quick links here that'll get you to like recently viewed content that you're working on or bookmark content. And then this is a feature set that the admins of Viva Learning can actually control, and they can set up some curated recommendations of courses they want for the organization. And then down below here, I've got a chance to select my interests. I can choose the areas that are of interest to me, And then Viva Learning will actually recommend courses for me based off those interests I select. They show up here, for example, in these kind of quick recommendations. And then down below, I can browse all the content that's available to me across all the libraries. And I can browse it in a couple of ways. I like, personally, the duration. I know if I've just got 10 minutes or if I've got an hour, I can find a course that fits into that time slot, and I can schedule it. In fact, with the Viva Learning License add-on or with the Viva Suite, you can actually add these to your calendar and get them recommended. They'll find a time slot that works based on the duration of the course and slot it in there for you and put it as a meeting on your calendar. Go do that course. So as I open up a course, you can see I get kind of a detailed description of it. I can see the rating if the course has been rated, when it was last updated, the type of course it is, the language, the duration, and then some related courses if I'm interested in kind of further learning on that topic. As I browse, I can check by providers. Viva Learning will aggregate content from it's 15 to 20, and the number's changing. They're adding to it all the time. LMS systems and content providers. So if I've got a subscription there, I can bring in content from these other providers. If not, if I've just got the Viva Learning license, I get access to Microsoft Learn and some LinkedIn Learning courses. There's about 125 of them. And I can also share content from my organization. I can set up a SharePoint library, upload training material there, and then surface that here in Viva Learning. And then, of course, if I want to see by my interests, this will give me content related to my interests. As I find courses that are of interest to me, let's say I want to learn more about Teams, I can bookmark them, and that'll save them for my review later. I can also recommend them to colleagues or to direct reports, team members, and I can share them if I want right on Teams. And like I said, you can add them to your calendar. Under My Learning, I get a view of all the courses that I've viewed, that I've completed, that I'm working on, that I've bookmarked, that have been recommended to me. And when a course has been recommended to me, I have a chance to update the recommender with my progress. So when I complete it, for example, I can choose to let them know that, hey, I did that and it's done. And then the managed space, so again, I've got to be licensed with either the Viva Learning add-on or the suite to do this. I can see the progress of my recommendations, how they're doing on progressing on this course. And that one's not started yet. I think this one is in progress, so I can see how I'm doing as I progress on those recommendations. There's an admin area as well where I can manage some of those content providers and set up those feature sets that show up on the homepage. So that's Viva Learning in a nutshell. Again, it's a place to aggregate training content, make it available to users kind of right in the flow of their work. It does surface as well if you've got the license in like the Viva Insights emails and a couple of areas like that we'll talk about next. So Viva Insights is the personal and team well-being module in Viva. It helps me track kind of my work and how I work and do things to make my work-life balance better and improve on that and make myself more productive. So for example, under the well-being tab, you get chances to set up like no meeting days, set up focus time so you can really get in that deep work and get a lot done. Set up quiet time, which is kind of set your mobile device so it won't bother you with chats and meeting invites and emails after hours. You can set up a virtual commute, so at the end of your day, you can kind of wind down and get ready for the next day, plan out what you need to get done, schedule break time and learning time, and set time to review emails. You can track how you do on those things, and you can book some focus time. It'll take a look at your calendar, find some available slots, and let you book that time right here from within Viva Insights. And then this is just a little how are you feeling tracker, lets you kind of reflect on how you're progressing, and you can see that progress as you go mark this every day. This is private to you. Under productivity, this is how I interact with kind of team members and how I do my work. So I've got some really cool analysis about how I handle meetings, how I meet if they're being effective. You can see here under meeting habits, this is Isaiah's demo tenant, how many of his meetings are during work hours. Unfortunately, half of them are, it looks like, which is not a great trend for kind of a long-term, happy, healthy employee. How many meetings are under 1 hour? If they overlap, if I'm multitasking during the meetings I'm in, whether I RSVP'd, whether I am attending the meetings I'm invited to, and whether they end on time. You can also see the details if you want to see kind of the meetings over previous weeks and how I've done in each of these categories. I can see maybe trends and work on areas I want to improve that. And then as I'm in meetings, as they're in chats and emails, as tasks come up, as that kind of language learning recognizes tasks, it'll give me suggestions that I can set tasks or RSVP for tasks that have come up in meetings that I've been in or other interactions that I've had. And then teamwork helps me see my how I spend my time, if I'm spending it on collaborative efforts or focus time on tasks. And then if I'm a manager, I get some additional insights here so I can see how my team is doing, like at these meeting trends and things like that, and their well-being overall to all my direct reports. And that is Viva Insights.
Awesome. Thanks, Brent. And you know what? I love Viva Insights. One of the key things that I've been using it for the last year or so, and it sees who my reports are, and it knows when I last scheduled one-on-ones. As Brent knows, I'm not very good at acting on those prompts, but nonetheless, I get these prompts saying, hey, you need to meet with this individual. You haven't had a one-on-one for a while. And I can actually go in there and just schedule them right inside of Viva Insights, and it just throws it on my calendar and sends out invites. So it's super slick tool. I've had a great time utilizing Insights over the last year or so. So anyhow, I'm going to cover two other areas, and Zollinger talked about this a little bit earlier. If we go to this summary slide, right? These different modules they're all over the place, and I'm going to get a little bit on a soapbox here. I have no idea why Microsoft decided to say these are the Viva Suite. I struggle with even seeing correlation sometimes between all of them, because you might be tempted to say, oh, well, there are additional applications that are inside of Teams. That's actually not true. So it can't be that. Oh, it's connection. Okay, that's great, but that's not applicable to some of these, right? And so I don't know why, but nonetheless, I'm going to now talk about two of these modules, and that is Viva Goals and then Viva Topics. And Goals is in that space of growth and driving performance within the organization, and that Viva Topics is around the knowledge management aspect of getting access to the right people at the right time to drive effectiveness. Okay, so we're gonna dive into both of those. First up, Viva Goals. So the first thing I want to illustrate here, and I have a little snippet I want to read here. So Microsoft Goals is goal alignment solution that connects your teams to the organization's strategic priorities and unites them around the mission and purpose to drive business results. What we're talking about here is organizational key results. If that's a new term for you, hop on the web, do a search for OKRs. This is a standard that a lot of organizations are using. In a very layman term, as I would say it, this is about alignment between organizational goals and objectives down to the individual, and ensuring that the individual is aligned with the team's objectives and the team's objectives are aligned with the organization's objectives. Okay, and Goals is the tooling to help track that and expose it and show progress around it. So let me walk through kind of these nuances that make up Viva Goals. So the first thing that you'll notice on the left-hand side is I have my OKRs as an individual, which we have up on the page. Then we have JourneyTEAM OKRs, and then I've created a team level OKR called the People Battle Team OKR. Now, let me walk through the UI, and then I'll kind of walk through the specifics. So as I go to my OKR, I'm getting a summary of progress across the OKRs that are applicable to me. I can click on projects, and I'll explain what that means here in a second. The projects that are related within an OKR. Then I can actually go to dashboards, and then I can see activities. Okay. Now let's get into the meat of really what this looks like. So here's an example. At JourneyTEAM, we have a strategic initiative around driving, enabling high-performing teams. And what that really means is JourneyTEAM employees, we need to step up our game, and we need to become even better than we are, right? Part of our mission and value as an organization is that we have relentless pursuit of excellence. We are always striving to grow be better at what we do, and to disrupt the standard paradigm around consultants, right? We want to be the best of the best if we're not already there. And so one of our key objectives is enable high performing teams. And within that, you can see that I have a child primary objective of communication and knowledge management. If I expand out that objective, then I have some KPIs and then I have projects. Now let's first talk about these KPIs because it's a little interesting. The key here is we could set goals all we want, but if the goals aren't driving results, right, they're not a good goal, right? I don't want to get on a soapbox around how we should be doing goals, but nonetheless, there should be measures to prove that are we doing the right thing, right? Is it moving the needle? In this example, and this is a test example, but in this example, we have reduction of dead links in search results. So currently, actually, if you guys don't know this, in SharePoint search, I can go to SharePoint search and see how many times someone has searched and never clicked on a search result. That's insightful. That tells me that Brent went to go search for something because he couldn't find it. And when he got the search results, they weren't good enough and he never clicked on anything. That's a sign of poor knowledge management, right? That's a sign of Brent not getting to the information he needs. So hypothetically, we can say that a good KPI of a good knowledge management and communication plan might be that we're going to reduce dead search links from 50% and reduce them down to 25% within our organization. If that happens, then we can say that the communication and knowledge management strategy is actually working, right? And there's a number of different KPIs, so you can kind of think through those KPIs of what might drive that. Now, in this example, I can click on that KPI and I can do a check-in. I can go, oh, you know what? We're on track. Dead links are down to 37. They're down to 40%. I'm going to do a check-in, and now the progress of this objective, right, and this KPI just got updated and then trickles up, and then the overall strategy around enabling high-performing teams is showing progress, right? Now, that's a manual KPI. This is what's kind of crazy. So check this out. And I know this is small, but just notice I'm scrolling. So where could I dynamically pull analytics from and have KPIs automatically updated within goals from these other systems? So if you're using Asana, great. I can connect to Asana, grab progress of different tasks within there, roll it up. I'm using DevOps, roll it up. Excel, roll it up. GitHub, Google Sheets, HubSpot, Monday.com, Looker, Jira, etc. Right? These are all those things that we can connect to and roll up the KPIs within goals. The one that I love that I think is just fascinating, and unfortunately, it's not in our tenant, so I didn't demo it quite yet. It is this Power BI. And what's cool about this is I can go to a Power BI dashboard and grab a widget on the report. And I can go to that widget and it will dynamically grab the data set and utilize the values within that widget to determine progress on a KPI within Viva Goals. Super slick stuff. I'm waiting for that to show up in our tenant so we can take advantage of it. Okay. Now let's talk about these other things. So I have these projects. Now, don't get wrapped on this idea that these are actual projects. Like, I'm not doing project management in here. That's not the intent, right? The intent was that we have a communication strategy that needs to be defined in Q1. So what do? I click on it, progress, and this is live update, by the way, 100% complete. Bam. I check in. That's completed. Our knowledge management strategy, that's completed as well. You can tell I've been on holiday in Barcelona because I haven't been updating stuff. So now these are updated in our progress, and now they'll roll up on the overall strategy of how we're doing as an organization. Now, a couple other things I want to point out. So here's all the projects within those strategic initiatives. We can actually build dashboards in here as well. So here's an example of the Enable High Performing Team strategic initiatives for Q1. So that's how we're looking on Q1. So it looks like, I'm failing a little bit. So there's one item that's not quite yet, but we can build these dashboards from a reports perspective. And then Viva Goals actually has a bunch of analytics around progress of OKRs and consumption and how progress is being made and et cetera. Okay. Now, you might be thinking here like, well, Kip, we're going to update. We do project management and project for the web, or we do project management maybe using Plan or Asana or Jira or something else. That's where those integrations can come in. So I can actually have the updates instead of these updates actually coming manually from within this environment. I can actually set up integrations and have the communication strategy updated dynamically from Planner or dynamically updated from Project for the Web or a number of different systems. So then that way I'm not having to come in here and manually do this. Project management is happening somewhere else. And as those projects progress, they're updating Viva Goals appropriately. Okay. If you have any questions around Viva Goals, let me know. This same concept is applicable at the team level, at the individual level, and at the organizational level. You can control who owns what objectives, what projects. You can assign them to people so they can't modify other things. They can only modify their key objectives. And then the last thing I'd like to point out is you can have a Viva Goals license and be an administrator here, but we can actually expose this content to the employees in regards to overall just access and updates around how the company's progressing around those strategic initiatives. So once again, if you have some questions, if we have time at the end, I'll answer questions around Viva Goals. All right, so let's talk about, we're going to transition. Like I said, right, Viva is like all over the place. So we're going to transition over to a product called Viva Topics. Now, in my opinion, this is Microsoft's biggest play in the space of knowledge management. We've had SharePoint as a content management system, right? We can create rich content. We can embed videos. We can integrate with tools like Viva Learning, expose SharePoint articles and documents and et cetera. There's a flavor of knowledge management in there. Viva Topics takes this to a whole new level. So let's first talk about what is this term topics? Like, what does that even mean? What a topic is they are AI generated articles that are pointers to the content across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem for our company. That was a loaded statement. So let me try to say it in a more simplistic way. Artificial intelligence scrubs and searches our entire SharePoint Teams environment. And coming out of it, it says, hey, it looks like you guys have content such as SharePoint Online or Power Automate or Viva or OneDrive or Scope of Work. And we're going to suggest that you publish a topic page around that content because we notice that that content's all over the place. And so what you're seeing here is a list of those topics. Well, some of them I published, others are confirmed, other ones are still suggestions, right? And I could come into Power Automate and say, okay, it's suggesting that this is a topic. And as an administrator, I can come here, confirm, and then I can review this, pull up the topic so I can take a look at it. So I can see here's the definition of the topic. Here's the suggested people, suggested files, sites within our environment, and related topics across our ecosystem. And I can look at this and say, that looks good. I could edit this and then I can publish it. And now we have a topic. This is a very interesting concept. This knowledge article or this topic is not the knowledge. It's a pointer to all the data that has to do with Power Automate and the people in our environment. So these individuals and these files are everywhere. Some of them are in sites, they're on project sites, or might be in my OneDrive, who knows what. The key is that I only see the information that I have access to. So everyone that just lost their mind thinking that we're just going to expose a bunch of data and people are going to have access to stuff they shouldn't. That's not true. So this is federated content. You only see what you have access to. but the topic is really a pointer to all the data, and then you go to the data that's relevant. Okay, so let's kind of work through this a little bit, and I'll give you some examples. So let's go. Well, let me show you one other things, and then we'll talk specifics. If I go to the Topic Center's homepage, you'll notice here that it's seeking validation from me. Believe it or not, not very many people seek validation from me, but Viva Topics is. So as you can see here, we have SharePoint Intranet as a suggested topic. And it says, do you want to be listed as a point of contact for this topic? And I'm like, yeah, actually, that's in my wheelhouse. That's in my realm of expertise. So I'm going to hit yes. I get a little congratulations saying I can go to my teams, make me a contact for that. I'm a contact maybe for Fist Bump, which is a tool that we've created for employee recognition, and etc. And so we can actually expose this web part to your employee base on the company's intranet to curate and make the data even more valuable over time. So it's super cool. Now let's get into one of these topics. So I'm going to do a search for a topic because I want to find it really quick. Outlook. And let's look at what really this topic is. So I already showed you the elements. I'm going to edit the topic though, so we can illustrate some of the capabilities. So what are some alternate names to Outlook? Outlook for the web, Outlook, OWA, right? OWA is a common term. Another one is, how's this? Email. I don't know what else. Oh, that's good enough. So those are alternate names. Now, when I search for email, I may find this topic, right? Or OWA and etc. I can alter the description, right, within here. I can actually classify this topic multiple ways. Right now, it's already classified as a technology, right? Maybe I want to classify it as a tool as well. And then I can say, who are the experts around Outlook that if I need questions, they're the ideal people to talk to. Well, I'm going to confirm that that's Eric Roth. Not that he is, I just want to harass him with anyone at wants questions, they harass Roth, right? So I pin him and Jamie. And then I can see these relevant files. Now, where the curation becomes valuable here is we may look at this list and go, well, Kip, none of this is valuable, right? Like maybe these are just random documents that reference Outlook. Like maybe we want to create a knowledge article that is like, welcome to JourneyTEAM, the proper use of using Outlook. Well, then we could just add that ourselves, right? We can add the file, we can add the SharePoint page, we can even add a link from Microsoft or from Viva Learning and say, access this content, right? This is the ideal content you should be looking at. Now, as I scroll down, I have the same thing with suggested sites, right, within our environment. And then I have these relationships, which is just crazy. The relationship between these articles, these topics, across, how they're related to one another. And once I'm done with all that, I can enable commenting if I want to. And for you SharePoint nerds, I can actually inject SharePoint web parts into this page and make it even more valuable if I want to. Gordon, I'm not sure if you're still on, but one of the things that we've talked about within our team is, should we have a Dynamics 365 web part that pulls in records in Dynamics and exposes them on this page? Almost the same exact thing that Microsoft is already doing with documents, right? So we have some capabilities. So I'm going to publish this. And now I've had my updated topic page. Awesome. I'm good to go. And then everyone goes, well, Kip, how do I navigate, right? How do I navigate to Outlook? How do I get to this? Let me show you all the magical ways that we actually get to topics. So the first is search. So let me go over to our intranet. And so this is live. So I'm on our intranet called Basecamp, and I'm going to, I already have my search results. So I'm going to hit Outlook, and you'll notice, what do I see here? Suggested topics. If I do a global search across all of our environment, I get an embedded topic card with the summary, points of contact, resources, all from within here. Now, by the way, I want to point this out, like that learning scope right there, that one of the integrations with Viva Learnings is exposure of those learnings from here, by the way. So super slick. So from here, I can actually click on Outlook. and I get sent to the Outlook topic card that we were just looking at. So that's option number one, is via search. Option number two is via Teams. So this is pretty awesome stuff. So let me hop over to my one-on-one chat with Brent, and you'll see that I did a topic card already with him. But let's say that I say, Brent, did you get? This is a really bad example. Did you get a chance to set your out of office in hashtag Outlook? And I hit send. Now, obviously this is silly, because why would he need this from Outlook? However, think of it about this way. Hey, did you take a look at that EOW? What's an EOW? All right, maybe I'll hashtag that. Or I reference a client, or I reference a technology, or I reference a project, I reference any form of acronym that we use at JourneyTEAM on a regular basis because we're a tech company, right? So this starts becoming powerful. And what happens is I hit submit, and now Outlook is a hyperlink in our chat. And when I mouse over it, I get hover cards that illustrate and give me access to that Viva Topics. So if I mouse over this, you'll see a OneDrive, right? And I have access to that topic card, and I can click here and go directly into the topic. Pretty slick stuff. This same capability is also available to us in Outlook for the web. So here's an email with Brent, testing of topics. In the body of the email, I'm going to type hashtag EOW, estimate of work. And I'll just say, needs to be completed. And that will now be a hyperlink to Brent referencing the details of an estimate of work. Pretty slick stuff. Okay. Let me show you more, because there's so much more. All right. Outlook Word. So check this out. In Word, I did a search within my Office productivity suite. You can do this in PowerPoint, Excel, Word, or whatever. I did a search for OneDrive. Scroll down in my OneDrive results. What do I see? The topic card for OneDrive. And I can actually click on it and then get exposed to the OneDrive topic card that I searched for from within the Word document itself. Okay. Now I saved the best for last. The coolest way to expose Viva Topics is via SharePoint pages. So bear with me for a second. Let's walk through this scenario. So at JourneyTEAM, let's say we want to integrate our own learnings. We have standard operating procedures around how to execute and how to do certain tasks. We have every training that we do for leadership has corresponding reference material that leaders can consume and read and use it as refresher content. We have content that we put together around walking a customer through the JourneyTEAM process, which is really important to us. We think it's one of our unique identifiers within the industry of how we deliver solutions and business solutions for our customers is our process and our strategy around that. And that's documented. So instead of throwing that in Word documents, because Word is intended for what? Printing, by the way. And we decide that we're going to create this content within SharePoint. Now it makes a strong, rich environment. And within those SharePoint pages, I might reference a number of Viva topics. I might reference our values as an organization. I might reference technology that we use on a regular basis, and etc. And it generates cross-linking for us. So if I go back to Basecamp, I'm going to give you an example of this, and I navigate under learning and development, we have a quick link here to an article that we created around doing deep work, right? The importance of deep work within our environment. And we talk about the instructions. We have some embedded video around what does deep work mean and how our team supports us and our personal responsibility, yada, yada, yada. And towards the bottom of this, you'll notice that Outlook is a hyperlink. I didn't create that as a hyperlink. It automatically created that as a hyperlink because that is a Viva topic. If I mouse over Outlook, it gives me the definition hover card, the alternate names, the points of contact, other reference documents, and etc. This starts becoming so powerful. Hopefully you guys see the art of the possible here. Imagine where we have standard operating procedures and we're not creating the cross-linking all over the place. It's actually helping us do that cross-linking artificially through that engine instead. And now we have this. I imagine this is setting up and leveling up the knowledge management game within Microsoft's ecosystem tremendously. So really, really slick stuff. Last nerdy item around Viva Topics, and then I'll stop here. So let me get to the term store. Now, let me explain this really quick. I know we're running out of time, so I'll make this really fast. Term stores are organizational taxonomies, right? For instance, you don't want your departments determining what departments you have, right? We should have common terms and classifications within our organization. We can use the term store, and actually I can create a term for Outlook, which improves my search experience, by the way. And I can go into this term and I can request that the artificial intelligence engine create a topic for this term. And it just processed it within a short period of time. It makes a relationship between the two, and I'm good to go. Super, super slick stuff. If you have questions around Viva Topics, obviously put them in the chat. But it's now time to segue to the most exciting part of this presentation, which is licensing, which is not true, and thus why Zollinger stuck with discussing it.
Who doesn't love licensing? I will say that at the end of this, you're going to have questions about licensing. I'll see if I can get my taskbar to go away. This link at the bottom, Microsoft.com, ENUS, Microsoft-Viva/pricing, and Brent put it in the chat, has all of the gory details about licensing for Viva. And it's a non-trivial question, but I've tried to make it make as much sense as I could. With the Microsoft or Office 365 subscription, you don't get sales, you get all of Connections, most of Engage, Insights, and Learning, none of Topics and Goals, and we don't know what they're going to do with Amplify or Pulse, so we can't answer that. So with your 365 subscription, you can do Connections, you can do most of Engage, Insights, and Learning. You can also buy an add-on. So the add-on for sales is $40. It makes sense if you're in a Salesforce environment. If you're in a Dynamics sales environment, you probably might get it anyway, but those are the two places where it makes sense to do sales, because it then leverages all of that detail to be even more powerful. You can buy a $4 add-on for Insights, Learning, and Topics. Goals, the add-on is $6. And here's where you're going to have questions. Kip talked about the idea that maybe you don't need a goals license for everybody in your organization. You're going to have questions. You're going to need to work through that, and we'd love to help you do that. And then there is the all-powerful suite for $9 per person per month. You get just about everything. You don't get sales, but everything else, you get all of it. And there are some functions in Learnings and Topics, for example, you don't get with the add-on. You only get those when you buy the suite. The $9 per month per person assumes an annual commitment. It assumes that you're going to auto renew, and it assumes that you're going to do it before the 31st of July. After the 31st, that price goes up to $12 per person per month. The add-ons go up as well. You should look at what your goals are as an organization and figure out where you're going to start. And that will tell you whether or not it makes sense to do add-on suite or just start with what you get with your Microsoft 365 subscription. Somebody in the chat talked about the idea that their HR department is all in on goals. They love goals, but they don't want to spend the money. If you're going to buy goals for the entire organization at $6 per person, that extra $3 gets you a bunch of value in a lot of other places that might make it be an easy sell. If you're not going to lean into goals and you only want to do what comes with the M365, that may not make sense. In each case, you'll have to look at it, figure out what makes sense, figure out how you can get the most value out of your spend. Kip is going to talk next about how we can help you with all of this, but that is one way. Kip, back to you.
So, and you guys got me. Where do we go from here, right? So we shared a lot of stuff, right? Everything from, Viva Connections and Engage or whatever. And true, honest intent was we have so many clients not sure what this term means, not where to get started. And to be honest with you, sometimes the biggest hurdle is the art of the possible, right? How could we use this? What's available to us? And hopefully you got a gist of that, or at least see the art of the possible, so then you can take action. In the event that you need some assistance, obviously that's what we do, right? At JourneyTEAM, we're the best at what we do. We're a best of class consulting firm that transcends all these technologies. And so whether it's spinning up an intranet on SharePoint so that way you can use connections, or whether it's the implementation of goals, or even if it's just, hey, Kip, like as an example, right? HR wants to use goals, but it's too expensive for every employee. Well, guess what? We don't need it for every employee, right? You need it for those that are going to administer an update, right? So, or do we do the integrations with those other toolings so the updates are actually happening somewhere else, right? And now we can actually consume this tool and not have to pay as much license as we initially thought. And so we can help in all those areas. In the event you need some help, or even if you just have some minor questions coming out of this, we're happy to answer those as well and provide some insights. So then that way we want to make sure that our clients that we see as partners in our ecosystem, that they're not implementing things wrong. And we actually, that's the primary thing that we want to focus on is helping organizations do what's right, do what's best for them. And we can certainly help for that. Now, the other thing that I want to call out that I think might be fun, but I need your feedback to know if there's interest here. So we've thought about putting together a Viva Sherpa program. And really what this is, a lot of these Viva tools are not overly technical. To be frank, they're fairly basic. And so the guidance around implementing and configuring them is a kind of a low level config for the most part, for most of them. And so we will be scheduling what we call a Viva Sherpa program in the coming weeks. That is really a group workshop where we take a group of clients and walk them through each of the modules and walk through the configuration so they can do the configs on their own. So almost think of it as like training meets group workshop meets coaching meets support, and we'll push clients through it. So then that way you guys get the guidance and the direction that you need around utilizing this the best and the proper way. And there are some nuances, to be clear. We're realists. So, you know, I was against Teams actually when it first got rolled out for probably about 6 months or so. And there are elements around Viva Connections that you should be aware of. And so we want to make sure that you guys are considering all things and doing what ultimately makes sense.
Thank you, Kip, Brandon, Brent, and Kevin for sharing such great information around Viva modules. And also thank you all for joining us. Unfortunately, we did run out of time, but if you have further questions, you can either ask them in that survey link, or you can send them to us directly at info@journeyteam.com. I did keep track of all those, so we may reach out to you so we can answer those questions individually. And I hope you, as a reminder, don't forget to fill out the survey. There is a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. And I hope you learned something new today. Thank you, everyone, and have an awesome day.
And if you don't want the Amazon gift card, do the survey anyway. It's actually really insightful for us. And it's good feedback for us. So make sure to click on that chat in the meeting area, click on that link and do that survey if you don't mind. That's a personal request.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Kip.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.